Good afternoon, everybody. It is Mike Pisani. It is Thursday, 6:15. It is 3:30. We have a half hour to go until the market closes. It's been a wild day, choppy day, tough day, but there were definitely a lot of things to do today. So right off the bat, we had the big gap down in the markets today. Qs got hit the hardest, pushed a little lower and held. And in the chat room, I was saying the longer we hold down here, the more likely we are to, I think, go green today. And sure enough, we've got a decent sized bounce now in the indexes at this point. Basically, we've just about filled the gaps in most of everything going on. So let's get right to it. I have to get out today. I have a couple things to do before the subscriber-only webinar tonight. There will be no charts, so I'm going to make this available to the public, and we'll go from there. So the Qs now have just about filled the gap. They're a little short of filling the gap into yesterday's close. That would be up at 139.79. Looking good. Big volume again today. We're staying way now for the last week, way above average volume in the Qs. That continues to go here. SPY came down, tagged the 8-day perfectly, now back above the 21-day perfectly, now back above the 8-day. Also, the Qs, hard to see here. We tagged the 50-day and held, but we're now below all the fast-moving averages. We still have the H cell pattern set up here on the Qs, so it's something to keep an eye on here. Doesn't mean we're over. It just means we still have that in play. IWM, it's got a rounding top forming. We lost the 8-day, held the 21, and are trying to recapture the 8-day here into the close. We'll see how that plays out. And then looking around, XLF, fins, no call buy at all since the Fed. So very hard to get bullish. We're right at resistance. We can't break through. It's flagging here. I'll keep an eye on it, but if they're not buying calls on this, they probably don't want it. Energy looks horrible. That's, a couple-day bounce now, getting completely undone. We've lost the fast-moving averages again as we go down. So on to some of the flow today. And as you might expect, it was very bearish, especially early on today. Early on today, the XLB caught a bunch of June 30th 5350 put sweepers and a June 54 put sweeper of size. You can see they were protecting some profits here. This does not look like something I'd look to get involved in here. The FXC, on the other hand, did see a decent sized put sweeper come in to the July 106 puts. Not huge, but if the dollar continues to strengthen, they probably are looking at maybe some additional weakness here protecting that. And we could, now that we're underneath all the moving averages, we could see a roll down towards this 50-day here. You got a gap here, very gappy instrument. USO, which has been left for dead, has seen some call buying coming into it now. Nothing massive, but they were going out and they were buying into the June 30th 9 calls today. Maybe trying to see if we can get a little bounce there. Not sure. We saw some two-way action in healthcare. So first, the XLV earlier this morning, call buyer came in pretty early into it, and they bought the June 23rd 78 calls. It's closing okay. But just before Trump news broke, the LABD, which is the inverse triple leveraged ETF for healthcare, right? So this is for bears. They bought calls on it, expecting that biotech will go down. They hit the July 15th calls into here. The July 15 calls. And then the news broke that Trump was going to issue an executive order on drug price controls. So that was timed perfectly. The player got in right here. The news came out after that, and you got a nice little pump here. We could have ridden that and played that quickly. Not sure where to go here. And as we were just, before I came on, UVXY, which is double leverage for the VIX. And a lot of people play it. I know I play this one occasionally. It's this and the VXX. UVXY caught a big put buyer. Tomorrow, 11 puts for $200 and something thousand came in. So somebody's playing that we are going to have a rally tomorrow. We're going to see a big drop. All right. We'll move to rumors next. Hershey, HSY, got a big pop right here. Rumor they're exploring options for their confectionery unit. And then even afterwards, the July 120 call started getting bought into the highs of the day. So this is a name maybe you want to put on your radar moving forward to see if this one has some traction. We had rumors last year. This actually worked out pretty good. Something a little different, we saw call selling today in Len home builder, right? We saw put protection. This saw call selling. So somebody was selling calls out into July here. That's 5750 calls. So they're trying to call a top here, but they're giving themselves plenty of room for it to run back up. So they're not calling it close to the money. They're going to it would be a new all-time high here. So not big concerning. This one though caught me a little off guard. It was V. They hit the July 100 calls. Again, has room to run, but we're seeing more and more call selling. We did see this last summer, so this is something to keep an eye on. If this plays out like we saw last summer, where they came in, they spent this summer buying selling calls to cover everything. All right, so some of the puts. So Nike today, I took a hit on it. I sold it, took the loss. Early this morning, they had news, and then they started piling into the puts. The June 30th, a $1.7 million bet into the 52 puts started. They kept piling into those. Then they hit the July 7th 50 puts, and then later on the July 52 50 puts. You know, sometimes you just get caught in the wrong news. News trumps technicals. I got down 50% of my options. I took the loss. I could have held through earnings, but I really didn't want to here. Normally, when somebody announces, they're laying off workforce, cutting costs, it's a bullish thing for the market. Not today. So that was a lot of it. Yahoo saw some protection to the June 30th 52 puts. Again, it's closing higher. Nvidia saw a block of the June 145 puts expiring tomorrow into the lows, and it just rallied from there. Morgan Stanley, and the one that I'm watching more closely is Netflix. It's rallied all this afternoon, but it's been one of the weaker names in beta. Looks worse than the other names. And you saw a July 28th 143 put buyer here into the lows this morning. So that's something that might actually make some sense moving forward. Restoration Hardware, you remember all the call buying into the lows on this thing we saw? Filled this gap, and now we see somebody coming in and buying the July 55 put. That's probably protecting some big profits they already have in this. And we had some puts into AFL and Walmart and MOIL, but nothing of consequence. So let's take a look at the calls. Let me just check what's going on here. Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers, we'll go right to that one. Nothing going on there yet, but it's been picking up calls all afternoon, and they're hitting the June 30th 2750s here. What else did they hit? They hit the 2950s to start, so they're moving up. So Weight Watchers continues to rally strongly here. Amazon had a lot of action today. So we'll have to see how this plays out tomorrow, what sticks to open interest. The first thing of note is they started buying next week's June 23rd 992.50 calls. And to me, it looked like they were rolling down some maybe strikes from 1,000, 1,010, 1,020s down to get better delta. Then they came in, and there's over 1,000 of those on that line now. Then they came in, and early on, right in here, they hit the tomorrow's 962.50 calls, almost a $500,000 bet into tomorrow's expiration. And we saw this a couple times. They hit the June 23rd 990s again. They hit the 970s. So there was a lot of call buying into Amazon. I traded Amazon twice today. Both were scalps. Neither one of them were huge winners, but both put a couple $100 in my pocket. And sometimes on a day like today, you just kind of take that. My best trade of the day was Google. I hate to admit it. I got short and got a nice 80-cent scalp on Google today down in here. And one of the reasons I didn't stay with it is because while the Qs and Amazon and Facebook and Netflix were making new lows, Google with the downgrade, which is why I chose it, wasn't making new lows. So that told me to get out. All right, so that's Amazon. JD, monster activity all day long. No way. If you like the Chinese names, this is something you want to pay attention. God. Okay, there we go. This is something you want to pay attention to. They came in and they have just annihilated calls. They hit the July 14th 38th calls to open. Then they started going after the September 40 calls. Multi-million-dollar into those, and then they drilled the September 42 calls. If you like JD, they keep coming into red and buying this name. So something to really keep an eye on. X was another name that caught a lot of action today. X, they started buying early, and they were buying the August 24s. They bought well over $1 million of the August 24 calls at this point, and they added some June 23rd 2050s for good measure. Did get pumped by the Nigerians. It got Axiom, gave it the kiss of death yesterday. I'm still with my calls. I'm sticking with this name for now. It has some stuff coming up I think could help it. AKS, after all yesterday's big call buying, we saw the July 8th calls absolutely bought over and over and over again today. 57,000 of them now bought as we go late into the day. 44,000 bought yesterday. Just AKS and X catching a lot of buying. If you like steals and you're comfortable with these trades, they are trying to say the bottom's in this. Something to keep in the back of your head. PHM continues to see call flow. The only problem with this one today is there was 2019, so not as aggressive. They bought the January 2019 25 calls, over $1 million worth of those. So we'll keep an eye on that. A name I did catch and play was Cat, but I left it way too early. Story of my life. I bought Cat down here. They came in, they swept up the July 110 calls. I wrote it for about 20 cents in options, and it closed a little higher. I think this is something you can come back to. They've been hitting this over and over again if you like that name. MDCO. MDCO, January 19 again, but the 45 calls, $1.3 million into a blood. So not sure what they're looking for here. Don't know enough about this name. It's a medicines company. Not sure. Hey, it would not be a day if they didn't come after Micron, and after a day off, they tagged Micron again. The January 29 calls got lit up today. So, and they came in for some other strikes. Earnings is coming again in this name, so it's not that far off now. What's some of the other stuff I saw? Yelp. Let's talk about Yelp and Hog before I say goodnight. Yelp. Yelp, they hit it twice. I didn't chase it. I wish I had. They hit the August 28th calls both times with decent size into both of them. They've been hitting this repeatedly down here. It's trying to get back into the gap. I think this is something, if we show, we can try to keep buying it off this 8-day. Because if you notice, every time it comes into the moving averages, they come and they dip buy on it. Lastly was Hog. They're still here. We'll be seeing more Weight Watchers coming in. Low September spreads. Sorry, I was looking at 82 by 85 call spread just opened and low, 10,000 of them. Big one. And we're seeing June 23rd, 80.50 calls at the same time. We'll come back to Hog. Let's go to the action. So somebody's coming into low, calling this a bottom. What's HD doing? I've been watching that one. I lost track of it today with the dip. It's a name I also like to go to more than low. We're going to note this. I want to put a tag on here on this one to see how that plays out. So low is catching some heat into the close. Back to Hog. So Hog, there was a call sweeper, and I walked away from my computer and I missed it. Happens. July 55 calls got swept up, and then they came in. They had news from Citigroup. Citigroup came out and said sales were better, and the thing exploded, and they're still buying calls up into this area. So going into tomorrow, we have the quad witching, guys. So expect very choppy action. I do not think the market will sell off in the morning. More likely, hopefully we get a flat open. I'd love a little redness open. And just be careful. I'm not looking to put new swings on here at this point. I'm going to play the action as it is. For you guys, to see you guys in the service tonight after the call. If you're not a member of the service, you're watching this video, the link's below. I encourage you to sign up, give us a try for a month. I'm having a lot of success, giving lots of teaching as well. As we're sitting here, by the way, I'm seeing a bunch of flow coming in. SPY, tomorrow's 242 puts coming in. CHRW, July 70 calls. CHRW, not sure that name. See, if you're sitting here live, you get a little bit extra time. Ooh, that's a nice look. We'll mark that. See if they come back for that tomorrow. That's a big size bet for them. 5 times normal volume now on that one. All right, guys, I need to do a couple things before I'm on tonight, so I need to get running here. Hope you all traded well. Have a great night, and I will see you all in the AM.